And take it away, Josh. Yep, take it away, Josh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Arm Wrestling Showcase number 25. You all know our host, Kane Fontecchio with Alpha Empire Arm Wrestling, and I'm Josh Edwards with Nowhere to Run. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Terrell Jackson, owner and creator of The 559, which is a local media outlet up here in the Central Valley of California. Terrell, how you doing today?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast. We got a lot of things that we'd like to ask you and dive into your background a little bit, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, we did a little chatting before getting started on this live stream, and getting to know you a little bit more, because this is the first time we've had a little bit of face-to-face. I've just heard great things about you from Josh. You're up there in his neck of the woods. And yeah, it was such a cool thing hearing your story of your first entrance to at least a competitive arm wrestling in terms of an event, which Josh was holding out there in the boondocks. So yeah, do you want to tell some of our viewers about what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I first stumbled on it, on social media, pretty much browsing through, and then I saw the posting in the group where it was talking about the arm wrestling event. And what I do is I go to a lot of different events. I reach out to the event coordinator. I ask permission to come and get some footage, maybe do some interviews, and this all goes into what I do as far as creating awareness for the Fresno community. So when I saw that, I reached out to them. I sent them a DM, and kind of waited until I heard back from him. Then he came back and sent me a message back and was like, yeah, And so I wanted to get a little bit more information on exactly what it was, because on the posting, it did say anonymous, which was kind of like a red flag for me, especially if you're promoting something, you would kind of, put your name out there so people can be able to address you. And so it kind of gave me a little red flag. So when he did respond back, I kind of like, went into a detective mode to kind of figure out exactly what this arm wrestling thing was about. So we kind of chopped it up a little bit. And I was like, okay, let me try it out. Where you located? So I'm thinking maybe at a hotel, at some type of venue. And he said, oh, yeah, I'm right there by Cherry Auction, in Fresno. So I'm like, thinking, okay, I haven't been to Cherry Auction in a long time. But when I did went there, all I saw was empty fields. Okay, so I asked him, okay, so you out in the country? He said, yeah. So, then we was talking about, what he was doing, and the name of his team, Nowhere to Run. And so I'm talking to him at the same time. I'm processing in the back of my head, Nowhere to Run. Okay, so number one, I'm a very faithful horror fan. I love horror. I love thrillers. And then when you say Nowhere to Run, the whole thing about Crystal Lake, the whole type of vibe. So I'm like, wait, hold on a second. This don't even sound right. All right, Nowhere to Run, and out in the boondocks. So I'm gonna test this. I'm gonna continue asking him questions to see exactly what he's going on. So he gave me the whole still down. I was cool. Okay, cool. And then I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna go out there, Josh. I'm gonna go out there and see what's going on and get some footage. So we stopped communicating, and the next day I'm doing a lot of research. I'm looking up his name. I'm looking up. I'm googling everything that he said to me to kind of do my back end of the whole story. So everything came out good. So I was like, okay, cool. So I reached out to my crew, my camera crew, and I was like, hey man, I know it's short notice. Hey, there's an event coming up Saturday, arm wrestling. I try to use, and I said, there's food because my crew, they're all about eating, and I'm all about eating too. That's what I think. Another thing, I said, hey man, if I'm going out there, man, I need some Gatorade and I need some food. Said, I got you. We got you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, my crew couldn't come, so I said, I tried to get my girl to come out there, and she's like, no, because she had to work. So I said, I'm just gonna go out there. You know, I wrote me a note on my table, left it here. If you guys don't see me, here's the address. Get everybody out there. So I'm driving on 41, and I passed it, and I'm like, wait, hold on a second, where is this place? So I called Josh up. Josh, answered the phone. I said, yo, dude, bro, yeah, I'm not seeing nothing, man. Oh, yeah, yeah, it does that. GPS, it does that. It takes you out this way when it should have took you this way. And in the back of my head, you got the angel and you got the devil. The devil's like, dude is lying. He's setting you up, man. He's setting you up. Don't do it, man.
That's
And then
some hills have eyes stuff right there, man.
exactly. And I have watched the hills have eyes.
Yeah.
So they gave me directions, and I get there, and I drive in. So I get there, I drive in, I drive. I turn around, and I back in, so that way I have if something goes down, I can get out there real quick. You know. And so I get out the car, and then I'm surveying everything. I'm looking at the crowd that's there, and I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And so after that, I met Josh, and I was walking up to Josh, and I figured that was Josh because the way that he was conducting himself. And then, but as I was walking up there, I had my little badge and everything on, and then the people that was there, they was looking at me, and they started getting out of my way. All right, get out of his way, get out of his way. And I was like, what? I like this. It's the media guy. It's the news guy. Get out the way. Get out the way. And everybody was calling me sir and everything. And I was like, okay, I can roll with this. And so I met Josh, and Josh kind of introduced me to everybody. And then, long story short, it was completely different than what I thought it was. I mean,
Sure.
everybody, it was just like, I felt almost like at home.
Yeah.
So it was a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the strange thing. Yeah, that's just so comical. Nowhere to run arm wrestling, middle of nowhere, and just arm wrestling. These people getting together in the middle of nowhere to arm wrestle. There's a lot of question marks there if you've never been to an arm wrestling anything. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I commend you for your bravery there. And but it is a trip, isn't it? Like if you've never been to an arm wrestling practice, an event, or anything like that, I think most people's thought process on it would be pretty gnarly, like
Mm-hmm.
just mostly just like probably like fights break out, and that it's just a bunch of people trying to prove who's tougher and stuff. But in reality, it ends up, I don't know, this might be a little characterized, but it almost feels like going to church in a sense. It feel in terms of like being very family oriented and the community like taking good care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
No, definitely. Like I said, when I got there, and I kind of surveyed the area, and then the vibes I was getting, the energy I was getting
Yeah,
was, and I have to admit, I came in stereotyping.
sure.
I came in judging because I've been through a lot of different things.
Yeah,
I'm prior military. I was stationed on the East Coast, And I was in the South, and you get those little small secluded areas where it's not good for me, you
Sure.
know. And so yeah, I came in there off the bat, especially when I got out the car and I started looking around, I started seeing a lot of things that kind of triggered me, but I remain open-minded. And and uh and once I got to know, once I started talking to Josh and started talking to some of the people that was there, and my whole thing was like, man, my whole defense mode went down, and now my different mode came in, and that mode was I want to learn about what these people do. Arm wrestling. You got people that come from different areas, from Los Banos. You got, champions that came there, and it was like a brotherhood, a
Absolutely.
brotherhood that was open arms to not just their own kind, but people like myself coming in to learn more about it. And so, I told Josh, let me interview some people because I want to learn more about what you guys do. I want to educate me, let me know, because one thing I do is I don't just cover just to say I've been there and done that. I cover because I want to learn. I want to understand and know exactly what is this arm wrestling thing. Because if I don't know about it, I'm sure there's a lot of other people that don't know about it. So educate me. Let me come back and share what I've learned to others, so that way I can be able to represent what you guys do and be able to say it in a way that gets them curious as I was.
Absolutely. And that's 100% what we're always looking for in this sport is ways that we can spread it to more people, make it bigger.
He's got it on. He's got it on.
Yes. So we had Don in the chat, and I thought we might as well bring Don Mormon in here because he's a familiar face for Terrell.
That's
And
right. We have a challenge, a rematch on thumb wrestling.
thumb wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Don. So you can
How
you
you
can
doing,
help us
Terrell?
out. You
How
can
you
help us
doing?
out a little.
All right.
Get to know Terrell a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, well, first, how you doing tonight, Don?
Doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
Loving the shirt.
Looking forward. Yeah, I put that on just for you because of the introduction, and
That's right.
it was one of the
Don is the
pollers.
man and the myth.
Hey,
And
there was one of the pollers at the last nowhere to run deal where he had the shirt on and uh,
did you arm
what's
wrestle him for it?
Yeah, Josh mentioned, he goes, man, that's how they always introduce Dawn every time they're on the show. And he took the shirt off right then and gave it to me. I go, you're kidding.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so Terrell, I gotta know. We've had all the lead up to this practice event that you came to, and the types of goggles you're looking at this through, right? So what did you think? Okay, like what did you think about the arm wrestling? Like what in terms of moving forward, are you wanting to do this again? Yeah, tell us a little bit more in that respect.
Do
Yeah.
you think there's a story there?
Yes,
No,
yes.
everywhere there's a story, you know, and it's just, again, for myself is being able to get more information to be able to share that story.
Right.
And from my experience there, it was and meeting some of the people that I interviewed, and not just interview, but just meeting some of the people on the side. It was an incredible experience. It was just I mean it was crazy, man. Like I said, I never thought when you say arm wrestling competition, I'm thinking it's just a bunch of guys just, doing the arm wrestling,
Right.
drinking, and doing all the craziness like a party. But this was more, it was more organized. It was organized. And
Sure.
even though it wasn't like a sanctioned event, it was just everybody had their roles. Everybody knew what was going on, and everybody was open to the questions I asked. I wasn't shunned, and I got more than what I asked for. You know,
Right.
and like I said, it was incredible. And I think I was talking to Josh a couple of days ago, and then he mentioned, yeah, there's another event that's going on next year in Bakersfield that he was sharing,
Mhm.
and that would be another thing. So what I explained to him is this past weekend was being able to kind of, I went there as an observer, you know. So yeah, I'm there to kind of share it to the community that I'm doing and give them a brief teaser into what you guys do,
Mhm.
and then and that will lead up until next year when the bigger event comes where I can actually do a really big story and be able to to network with a lot more different people and and bring this the sport that you guys are doing and bring it to limelight, and just share it, just share it. Not just, if you notice that news media, they cover a story, you hear about it, and then it's gone forever,
Yeah.
you know. And the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is to continuously, consistently expose and create awareness for not just the events that you guys are doing, but for individuals, for a lot of different things, and be able to keep on revolving it. So it's not
Right.
just one time thing.
Yeah. Like documenting almost and really
Exactly.
investing in it. I love that. That's great. We've got Paul Stevens in the chat saying what's up. He's another man, myth, and legend. I love me some Paul Stevens. We got E Mechanics in the house, Eric Gonzalez. What's up, guys? Glad you're with us. So now so the community, uh, obviously there's going to be like we were discussing a lot of stigma or whatever you want to call it, going into something like that. If you don't know the arm wrestling community, which, you've explained, it's just so different than you would expect. Now, how about on the arm wrestling side? So, first off, the event you went to had the best of both worlds. Usually you're either going to an arm wrestling practice or a competition. And
Mm-hmm.
it had a little bit of both, right? A lot of matches, and I'm sure there was a lot of people practicing.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think on the arm wrestling side? Did you get on a table? Did you try it? Let's dig into that a little bit.
No, I didn't get on the table and try it because when I was talking to the gentlemen I was interviewing, I'm not going to go anywhere where it's like, for me, I don't want to, I'm an older guy, so it's something, I know there's a lot of technique behind arm wrestling. You just don't go there and just, oh, you know what, I'm gonna arm wrestle somebody, especially an experienced person versus an amateur person. There's from what I understood, there's just a whole technique behind it, you know.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, I probably went there and I was just like, when I was recording in my head, I'm like, man, I can beat his ass, or I can whoop his ass. Oh hell, that guy right there, I think I can get him, you know. But
Yeah.
like one of the gentlemen has explained to me, you can only go so far off of raw talent before technique has to come into play.
Yep.
You know? And so, but yeah, I mean, I probably mess around, but yeah, those guys, they're just they're invested in it, and it's good to watch them. You know, even the younger kids that was arm wrestling,
Yeah,
that was pretty
yeah,
cool too.
man.
You know, that was really cool. And my question to you guys is this only a male, or do females arm wrestle?
Absolutely.
Tons of females that arm wrestle. Yeah, Kane's wife, he arm wrestles. Um, yeah, a lot of women arm wrestle. One of the things that Kane and I are trying to do with this podcast called the Arm Wrestling Showcase is to shed more light on the female and youth arm wrestling scene, because most of the time, exactly like you're talking about, the stereotypical thought of this sport is that it's a bunch of grueling men drinking in a bar somewhere. When that's, usually never the case. It's usually a very family oriented sport, whether it's the women and children cheering for the dad or whatever it is. You always see families at these events. And so, yeah, there's definitely lots of women that do compete for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a show called Female Fridays. We
Gotcha.
usually do it the first Friday of each month. And yeah, we'll showcase a different female athlete, get to know her. And Josh and I are definitely on the same mindset that to remove that stereotype for the mainstream population that, might watch arm wrestling or be curious about it. That is done through women's arm wrestling and kids. The more of them we can get involved, the better it is, I think, for that respect. We're both like 100% in agreement for that. And the sad thing is yeah, there's a bunch of women arm wrestlers, and but not enough. There's not enough. The constant issue, like at tournaments, is getting enough women to make up a weight class, or even to have registrations for. For example, the last tournament I competed in, my wife, she wanted to compete. We had a baby, so she hasn't competed in like a year or so during the process of being pregnant. And so she was like, all right, this is the time, I'm gonna compete. No other, I mean, there was women there, but nobody wanted to step up to compete, so she wasn't able to compete. And whereas men will have, like, I think, what is it, usually at least 5 weight classes, Josh? um
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Average 5 weight classes.
for the women it's usually limited to 2. Sometimes it just rolls into 1. It depends on how many show up. But so what that means is if there's 2, which is the most typical case, one weight class is 154 pounds and below, the other weight class is 155 pounds and up. So for women like my wife, who is tiny, she's oftentimes arm wrestling women that are 30, 40 plus pounds heavier than her, and it can be tough. So we definitely, for many reasons, want to build that side of the sport and get more women involved. Even the stereotype just for women is, it's got its own stereotypes. The funny part is, Josh, Don, would you agree? Like, there's a lot of, like, what, feminine, sweet women that are into dancing and stuff like that kill it in arm
Yeah.
wrestling, that are
Yeah.
really strong.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be like some WWE, like, super
Nope.
heavyweight that like smashes
No,
pounds on
there's a
your head.
couple. There's a couple that are. There's a couple that are literally paid models, and they
Yeah,
arm wrestle, right?
yeah,
So it's not. It's definitely not big burly women drinking in a bar.
right, right. And I think a lot of the technique and stuff that comes into play when they do try it, it becomes pretty fascinating for them. And there's women like my wife and Sarah Latona. They both have ballet backgrounds, a lot of dancing backgrounds, and you can really see really quickly how that benefits them and comes into play, because there's so much body form involved in the technique of arm wrestling, you know, and I will never come close to my wife's perfect form in arm wrestling. You know, her technique and form, it's just flawless because she knows how to use, you know, every aspect of herself to really get what she wants and be in a good, safe, strong form. Derek Smith, what does he call it? The curse of strength, I think. There's a commonality in this sport where if you do come in like a big person with, you know, a bunch of strength and everything, there's a good possibility your technique is probably horrible. You know, you might just get away for, you know, a year or two just having a really strong hand and arm and just doing some, you know, real basic stuff like this because they don't have to access more technique and more muscle groups and stuff like that.
Overpowering.
Right, right.
Mhm.
But that's the other fascinating thing is the levels. You know, even them, they'll find out at some point that you know, there's levels above them too, and
Mhm.
you're not gonna you're not gonna get to those levels by, you know, just using one strong tool that you have. The ones that are at the tippy top, they're not only crazy strong, they have really great technique and muscle synergy, use of all their muscle groups and everything. But yeah, in terms of, I like what you said earlier, Terrell, how you know, you were hesitant to try it, but I feel like it was for good reasons. You kind of had respect for, you know, the levels and the seriousness of what was going on. Um, and that is one of the cool things about the sport. My only advice, you know, next time you come join us at an event or a practice or something, find somebody like Josh, find somebody like Don to get on the table with. I think most people's first thought process would be to get on their first visit on a table to do that with an amateur or somebody that's at like an equal level as you, so you
No,
can
you learn more.
meet them. It's the opposite. You want to find
Mhm.
somebody that is you know, the most experienced, because someone like Josh or Don,
It's safer. Yeah.
they're gonna not only, like, you know, teach you the correct things, they're gonna keep you safe,
Yeah.
um to figure out. and and that is not like to baby anybody. It's typically the strong ones we worry about the most when they're brand new,
Right.
because you have a lot more probability of hurting yourself if you're strong but you don't know what you're doing. And typically that injury is going to happen with somebody that isn't experienced or doesn't know that you're new or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a crazy sport, man, because like before going into something organized like what Josh put together, you could have like been you could be undefeated on the barroom table, you know, in school
Mhm.
on lunch tables. You could have beaten every single person you came across that might have been double your weight sometimes or whatever. And then you go to an event where there's people that have trained in this for a while, and there might be somebody
Yeah.
like 50 pounds lighter than you that will
Exactly.
yeah, take you for a ride. And
Mhm.
it's very humbling, but it's also very cool because there is merit to the fact that if, you know, before getting into the organized stuff, if you beat every, you know, person that you know you've ever encountered, it's just that there's these levels, there's these extreme levels. Even when you go to like the pro level, there's like 10 more levels in that pro
Yeah.
level.
Mhm. Exactly.
So if you were to take a next step in terms of wanting to like dive deeper into this sport for documenting and stuff like that, what's the next thing you're looking to kind of do a deep dive into? What are the questions that this last event has brought up for you that you want to dig a little deeper with?
Well, I mean, as anything, you want the history. You want the history. You want to know. Yeah. You guys, it's in the community, but how did it get to the community? Where was the origin from?
Right.
Stuff like that. So you want to go back into time to understand how it got here and understand.
Yeah, I think you're gonna want to field this one, Josh. You're really good with arm wrestling history and stuff. Go ahead and continue, Terrell.
But you want to understand, when did it start? The involvement, the recruiting, you know, that's where, that's where I would like to kind of hit on is go back in time to when it first started,
Well, the
and then work your way up to the present day. So that way people know, just like anything else, it's like uh you show somebody a picture, uh but what's the story behind it?
Mm.
you know and then that's what I want to be able to do is capture a story, because that's what's going to really get your audience is learning the history behind it, the story behind it, how it evolved, and then what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah,
the,
that's a great
the,
place to start. And
the
you've got
internet.
two really good perspectives here. Don Mormon has been in the sport, the longest between
He's
us three.
Don was where
The
it started.
internet. The internet's changed it all. It's definitely made things more. Actually, seems like more fun. There's more communication. The communication is wide open now, where before the only way you could even find out, I mean, you think it's barroom and this and that. It was really almost non-existent in people's minds, period, because uh, the only way you could find out by another tournament was to go to a tournament. And how are you going to find out about that? Someone had to tell you. But because back then we did flyers, we printed out flyers and papers of what upcoming events were happening. Otherwise, you never heard anything. And so people kind of would, oh, yeah, you got any flyers? You got any flyers? Because they wanted to see what was next.
Right.
And the things now are more widespread. There's different aspects in the sport. Back then, they didn't even have what we were doing, Terrell. What we were doing over there is considered challenge or super matches. And we didn't even do those back then. It was all tournament format, a double elimination only. And so the super matches is a new deal that had come in later in the years, and it made it just added a little more excitement to it, more one-on-one competition instead of, say a bracket or draw type competition. So things changed there, and it's it's the internet's really opening doors right now, and I think that Josh has really touched on that. Kane is now. I mean, the YouTube, what we're doing right now, this is all golden. Um, we didn't have any of this back then, so things have evolved quite a bit here recently, and it actually got me back into it because these guys are having too much fun. I may be old, but I want to have fun too. Uh, so I guess once you're arm wrestler, you're always an arm wrestler, but uh, it's definitely changed the game. And all these boys, what they're doing right now is really, really, I think, a good thing. And like what you experienced, the people, the camaraderie, uh, the actual caring. I mean, it's the compassion for brothers and sisters and just people in general. I mean, it's really a neat thing. There's you know, and there's no such thing as another thing too. I want to get through. Terrell, first of all, there's no such thing as a competitive arm wrestler that never lost. Okay, so don't ever think about getting on that table and worrying about losing because
Right.
everybody loses.
I think I think one thing I want to touch real quick is you have your sports
Mhm.
and you have your superstars and then you have your rookies.
Yes.
And the good thing about what you guys are doing and what I experienced and saw was how everybody is together.
Yeah.
There was no segregation where all the champions just kind of stayed in their own circle.
Right.
Everything was together.
Intermixed.
And like yourself is how you are there and openly mentoring others and,
Mhm.
and sharing your experience, even your downfalls,
Yes.
to others to make them a better person.
Yes.
So you're not withholding, you're sharing.
See, exactly what you said is perfect, and one of the ways that I like to sum it up when I explain arm wrestling to somebody that's new to it or that is trying to learn about it is that any other sport in the world, if I played basketball, if I played football, or anything
Mhm.
like that, or baseball, or whatever it is, it would be very rare that I could call up Michael Jordan or Tom Brady or whoever's the best of these sports and go hang out with them tomorrow. However, in this sport, right at my house where you came, some of the best that this sport has ever seen in its history are right there, and they're at arm's reach at any time. So the new guys that come in are literally hanging out with the best in the world at this sport from the beginning, and they welcome you in just like you're just like them. There's no, just like you said, there's no hierarchy as far as we're all men and we all want to learn and get better, and we get better together, and we know that. But there's no separation there. There's no separation. The world champs, the best in the world, will greet you the exact same way that everybody did at my house Saturday.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I hope that never goes away, because one obvious contributor to it is, despite the fact that the sport is blowing up, it is still a niche sport. It's still a small sport.
Yeah.
We don't have major networks involved. We don't have a united league, which is one of our topics I'd like to get into at some point. But it because it's small and there isn't one monster that is, running this whole shindig. Yeah, we are able to be very self-propelled. We're a DIY community, and I think that's a big part of what makes that possible. Yeah, like my first two practices consisted of champions, like world champions, and it is just weird. It's different, but I am curious, guys like Josh and Don, is there any I don't know, do you have any theories on how that could be protected if we did blow the sport up the way we wanted to, if we did unify the
I,
organization?
I, I really don't think it'll change because
Okay.
of the fraternity that arm wrestling is, right? I
Interesting.
mean, if you look back a few years ago when we were on ESPN, when we did have the A&E deal with Game of Arms, and they were on cable network on like one of the biggest rated shows that was on at the time. The same producers that made Deadliest Catch made Game of Arms, and they were like real big time, and the same thing was happening. I mean, even though these guys were on TV and had deals and contracts, they're still hanging out just the same way. And I think it's because, again, we know, like Derek says, the guy who comes to practice and just wants to drink beer and practice with his friends, he still helps me become a world champion, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Because he's still part of my training equipment.
Yes.
So everybody plays a role, and I really don't think that we have much concern to worry about that. I don't think that it would change. I actually think that once arm wrestling does get out on the forefront, that it's going to shake up things a lot in the professional sports world, just because of the way that we conduct ourselves and handle business.
Very cool. You're right. It is very much ingrained into the culture and the roots of this sport. So yeah, I really do hope it stays that way. It's a beautiful thing that does stand alone from other sports for sure.
Well, I thought that when I first got back into this and I first met Josh myself, I told Josh, I said, Josh, you're doing really good because you're including everyone. Because, he wasn't just another elite show. Okay. And I'm not saying that the elite shows aren't fun, but that's not everyone. There's more everyone than there is elite. And by catering to the everyone, well, the elites want to be part of everyone. So it kind of
we
works
tricked them, didn't we? We tricked them.
Yeah, it kind of works out that way. You know why? Is because we all do want to be a part of this energy. When we're as arm wrestlers, you can't tell me that when you show up to a tournament and it's going on, you're not feeling all that energy in the room. It's even worse when you're reffing.
Yeah, Terrell, that's another monster that I look forward to you getting to experience and document, and maybe even be a part of his tournaments. Because the event you did, Josh, was primarily super matches, right?
It was a practice party, potluck with some challenge matches.
Yeah.
That's why I invited him to Bakersfield. I know it's April and it's a ways away, but it's an annual thing that that's got some footing already. And the first turnout was spectacular, and it's completely from what you've seen the other day, it's night and day difference, right? And it is, and we were blessed enough to have one of the best referees in the world offer his services and come over and ref the matches for us. And we had like the big YouTube channels recording it and putting it on their YouTube on ArmTube and things like that. So yeah, I would love you to see part 2, because it's projected to only be bigger and better. It's something that people definitely are excited about, and this is where we bring like all the teams from the South and all the teams from the North together to battle it out for the California Cup. And yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. The energy it was great. So
yeah, part of what made that event so good to me is that it took the best of both worlds, tournaments and super matches. And Terrell, yeah, so super matches, it's very exciting. It's a lot more like a fight, like a one-on-one fight. A lot of times there's a story there between the two competitors, and they get a little more time to have their combat. It's usually a best of 5 rounds. And so it's a lot more dedicated, and it can be exciting. But then tournaments, the really cool thing about that, it's you're taking just a mess of arm wrestlers from all over the place. You're putting them in a room and you're whittling all those arm wrestlers down to one person, pretty much. Even though there's weight classes, they take the first place from each of the 5 weight classes and then typically do an overalls at the end, where all the first place winners will go against each other in kind of a king of the table type fashion. The winner stays on the table, the next person goes at them. And then it gets whittled down to the one person out of maybe 200, maybe 300 entries. So it's a different monster. It's just, it's an all-day affair, double elimination usually. So if you went to sign up, you wanted to compete with your right arm and your left arm, they're going to run through the right arm matches with everybody. And if you lose twice during the tournament, you're out. So there's that. I feel like a lot of the energy, Don, that you're talking about that's in the room at a tournament is kind of that pressure a little bit. You're looking at just this room full of competitors and everything like that, and you can only lose twice, you know, and everyone is just like razor focused, you know, to do their job. You got brackets involved too, somebody on a computer running brackets to randomize everything for who you're gonna arm wrestle next. You know, if you got called up randomly to arm wrestle one person in your weight class, if you win, then the bracket is going to adjust you to go against probably somebody else that won their match. Whereas the guy that you beat, the loser, yeah, they'll be put into the B bracket, and they'll more than likely arm wrestle somebody else that lost, you know, and hope they can climb their way back off the B bracket. So it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the event that Josh and I are going to support Don in, and several other people, our teammates, is this weekend. It's the World Series of Arm Wrestling.
It's huge. It's huge. $36,000 in cash prizes that'll be handed out that day.
That's cool.
That's huge for us. I mean, I know, again, it's not NFL money, but who wants that kind of money anyway? Who wants those problems?
Yeah, we'll get there though. We'll get there.
It's cool.
That's another beautiful thing about the sport, I guess. You know, there's not a lot of money. I mean, that particular payout, those payouts is not normal. Like a lot of the tournaments, and especially local tournaments, if you win your weight class, you know, you get first place in your weight class, and then you get sent to the overalls, and you end up being the winner out of 300 entries. Typically you might make like $250. You might make $500, you know, if you beat everybody out for that. So there's not a lot of money in it. And but you know, we're working on that. There's always been the conversation of sponsors, the pursuit of trying to get sponsors involved, so that there can be more opportunity for the athlete. But
plus, I didn't know, Terrell, I don't know if you know, but they do have amateur, pro, master's class, and the master's class in some cases can vary from 50, 60, and 70 over.
Yeah.
So they have stuff for us old guys too, you know. It's just I want to play with the kids a little bit. So like for the World Series coming up, I'm probably going to go right hand open pro, but left hand master, and kind of play in my lane a little bit too, you know.
Nice. How are you feeling, Don? Are you ready for this weekend?
Well, I hope so. I got a little bit of a cold over the weekend, but I'm getting better. So I hope so. I've done all I can do at my age and with this first year back. So we'll see. I just want to see if I can take David's hand.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys touched on it, but the event that he's doing, Terrell, is done by Greg Sharp, and he actually is like a TV guy. He has a deal going on with Netflix, and the whole series is going to be on there soon. I actually did it last year and won my class. And so I'm waiting to see it so I can watch myself on the series.
That's cool.
It's pretty awesome. They had it really set up like it looked really official. When usually when you win a tournament, you get a medal, you get an envelope with some money. If you're pulling in the open pro class. But this time, not only did you get like an envelope, but you got workout equipment, and the Harley ring girls like walked you out and took pictures. I mean, they made it all official. It looked like UFC thing or something.
Yeah,
you know.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's qualifiers for it. The one we're doing this weekend is the finale. So there's going to be people from all over the country
Different
coming to
states,
this. Yeah. There was qualifiers everywhere in different states and everything, and you had to compete in one of those qualifiers to qualify for this one here. Yeah, I didn't make it to one of the qualifiers. I think the most local one we had was on the same due date as our baby. But I can't wait for Dawn to win this whole thing. And Dawn, after you win it and you're nice and tired, I'll see you on the after pool table, buddy.
Gretch. Gretch, really? Gretch. Now I'm dreaming. I like this dream.
Hey,
You can do
Bresh
this,
is
Dawn.
a bad
You
dude.
got this.
Does Bresh get down to 176, Kane, or I thought he only gets down to 185?
I think he's doing 185s right now.
Okay. Yeah.
No, he was in 76.
That's nuts.
Yeah, for this one, he might, yeah.
Yeah,
That guy needs to leave everybody alone.
Right. But I don't even think there's going to be both the difference between the two. I could be wrong. But yeah, typically you got the 165 and below, and then it's 165.
The guy we're talking about here, Terrell Vretch, he's pretty impressive. He can go a couple few weight classes and do well in them all, you know. He's really strong guy.
Yeah, he's 180 pounds, and his left hand is considered, probably one of the top, 5 in North America for sure.
Yeah.
Well, in one of the rankings, his left is number 1. They have him ranked at number 1. That might be
right.
fighter, I'm not sure.
So it could be up there.
Yeah. But that's kind of the thrill that a lot of people look for in this sport. They're looking for that 185-pound guy that's beating all the super heavyweights,
Yeah.
He's
And I think that's one of the most appealing things, like for a viewer. You remember UFC when it first started, when Hoist Gracie used to beat up on everybody. It would take him an hour, but he would beat everybody. It's kind of the same thing. Like, arm wrestling is one of those sports where the little guy can beat Goliath, like, a lot of the times. It's not a rare thing. It happens all the time. And it's because of the technical prowess or whatever it is that the one guy might have, but the technique, it trumps everything. You got to have strength, but if you don't have the technique and know where to use that strength, it looks useless, right?
All right.
Is there anything that you want to ask us? I know we're keeping you on. I don't want to keep you on here too long to where you never want to deal with arm wrestling again.
No, I am going to do my own separate show and invite you guys on there. And, because there's nothing wrong with an overflow of awareness. You keep feeding it to the community. You keep feeding it, and people's going to start looking, and people's going to start asking, questions. What is this thing? I keep seeing it. I keep hearing about it. And so that's one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish, is to repetitively keep bringing exposure. And so that's why I want to continue on and hit different points at different times. I might invite you on a show where we talk about the refs. I might invite you on the show where we talk about, like Dawn's caliber, so that way you see so many different angles of the sport, and not, I wanted to see the main, but behind the scenes, especially with the guy that when I was there, I don't know what position he was, but the guy that was doing all the talking, he was like, okay, stop. Okay, let's do, get the, how do you become able to be, what is that? Like a judge? I mean, what, referee? Huh?
Like the announcer,
No, he was a guy. He was a young. He was Josh. He was the young fella that was kind of orchestrating everything. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about as far as the matches?
Yeah, he's the one that had them go up, and then like, oh, we got to strap them, and he straps them, and then okay, go.
Referees.
Huh?
Yeah, I think you're talking about Santino.
He was reffing, right? He was a ref. Yeah.
Okay.
A
Now,
lot of times,
is there a specific order of refs, or is just all the refs are the same? Is it? I mean,
No, there definitely is a specific order of ref. As a matter of fact, the only two there that are like certifiable refs probably are Don and Mike McGraw, just because of their tenure as far as being so involved in the sport. Santino's pretty new at it. He's helped with a couple the get-togethers and stuff. But yeah, there's junior refs, which are like new level coming in. Then there's master refs, and then there's senior refs. And the master ref is kind of like he's able to run the show. He knows all of the rules. He knows all the system. He can be the top ref, which is the one orchestrating the go of the match.
Right.
And then the senior rep is like, the highest. Basically, they know everything from the brackets to all of the rules, with multiple leagues, because each league is certifiable with different criteria, right? So there's
I, I think he's referring to the moment like whenever we were starting and me and Centeno were going over the rules. And he's telling everything and what's going on and how we do this or why we
oh
do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We're going to call a
Yeah.
foul here. And he was going over everything and kind of telling everybody what's going on, I think is if I'm correct, Terrell.
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
yeah.
important thing that actually
Yeah.
plays into one of our topics about, the different organizations, some people wanting it unified, is depending on the organization and the reps that they use, there could be a different rule set.
Right.
You go to one organization, the reffing might be a little bit different. It might be more conservative. It might be a little bit more lenient.
We were more lenient.
Goes will be, some of them will say don't move go, some of them just say go. But the one commonality, typically at the start of every event, those refs will lay out the rule set for both the competitors and the audience, so we all know what's going on.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And there's at a lot of events, you could call them MCs. Jason Latona is one of my favorites. You did a great job, Josh, at North for South as well. But somebody that's there to hype the crowd up, let you know who's who when they're coming up, and add a little story to the event, make it a little bit exciting. I think they play a really important role in the events.
Okay, cool. Yes, I mean that's about it for me. I mean, as far as anything else, like I said, once I start doing some more research and stuff like that, then I'll be able to invite you guys on and get more, really more detailed, in depth um, um, stuff from you guys, and just go from there.
Awesome, man. Absolutely. Very cool. Yeah, I'm glad to have you on here. I think yeah, Josh and Don, if you're willing to touch a little bit on the topics, we can discuss those. And Terrell, you're welcome to hang out. If you gotta cut out, that's fine as well.
Yeah, my dog's acting crazy right now.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
man. No problem. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you. Yeah, you'll just exit by ending on your own end of the Zoom there.
okay.
Do come back again. We're so grateful to have you in the community too.
Yeah. Thank you for anything you do. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, man.
Thank you guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
for sure. It's people like you that make a difference, bro. And we're blessed to have got to meet you,
Yep.
and hopefully we can continue these endeavors. And both of us, when I say us, I mean the community of arm wrestling and you, help each other to grow, you know.
I'm all for it.
You're
So
in.
thank you guys.
You're in.
Yeah, well, I think I've already got I've already you wasn't there. I've already got what do you call it? What's the word for it? I forgot the word, but one thing I did do when I was there that I'm still recovering is my epic fall.
Oh, you had a ball?
Oh man, it was so embarrassing, man.
I didn't see it.
So I tripped. I misjudged one of the rocking chairs, and I'm trying to do some shooting, and I look down, and then my foot accidentally hit the chair, and I was trying to be cool at the same time, and so I fell, and then it was just crazy, man. I fell and I knocked all her food down, and it was just dramatic. It was crazy, but yeah, that was the funny part,
Wait, were you still filming?
huh?
Were
Oh,
you were you still filming? Did you get it on film?
I had the camera on the other side, so it might have gotten me. I don't think so, but yeah, it was crazy though. But
It might be something fun to revisit.
you know, but again, thank you guys for having me. I really I got a little bit better insight of what you guys do and stuff like that. So but this won't be the last of me, and I'll get with Josh and get you guys some contacts and invite you on my show.
Right on.
Cool. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Well, you
Uh,
gentlemen, you enjoy. You have a great night. And I got this dog. My dog is Dee Dee.
hi, Dee Dee.
All right. You guys take care.
Good night,
Have a
Terrell.
good night, Terrell.
See you
Uh-huh.
later.
All right.
One of the
Hey,
stories
I
he does for the local community.
All right, guys. I sent the link out to some people in the chat here. I need to send it over to Eric as well.
What do you think there, Kane? You like that?
Oh,
Ooh,
is that a
yeah.
Jackson?
To Charvel.
Oh, what a Charvel?
Yeah.
I love it.
Star
What
body.
is this? What's a Charvel?
You don't know a Charvel? You're a
No,
what?
I don't know. Kane doesn't know either. I'm looking at his
I
face
don't.
right now.
I don't.
We
What?
don't know. What is it?
Aren't you guys don't rock or what?
Apparently not the right way. Apparently
Okay.
not the right way. What is a Charvel?
You guys need to. It's a brand. It's a brand of guitar. They've been around for years.
Really?
Okay.
I played one when I was in my 20s,
Okay.
40 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of brands that come up that are new to me.
I
This
think
one,
who
what?
was it? Is it Dawkins that played Charvel?
Who's that? Dawkins?
Dawkins? Yeah. I think they play Charvel.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
Other
like this
guys
one
do
is
too.
a Schaefer. Have you ever heard of a Schaefer?
I've heard
Schaefer.
of a Schaefer.
You have?
I've
Oh,
heard the
okay.
name.
Yeah, that's a
I've heard of a
1965.
Schaefer.
Yeah, the old one.
Yeah, it's very
I had
old.
an old Rickenbacker back in the day. That was like one of my favorite guitars.
Yeah. Yeah, typically the older they are, the better they were made.
For
Typical
sure. Sure.
most things. So yeah, we've got Benji Mack in the chat. What's up, Benji? Paul Stevens was saying he remembers when he would get 3 to 5 flyers for upcoming tournaments. Yeah. Yeah, and he also says this weekend is going to be huge. I will see you there, Paul. Looking forward to it. Yeah,
Yep.
good luck to you, Paul. Okay, so if you guys were to choose in terms of the organizations in arm wrestling, do you like how it is? Do you like having the options of competing with different organizations and what they, what the variances that they have? or would you like to see a unified organization out there where, everything that would go with that, maybe
Well,
like rankings is all going to be an across the board situation, and but of course there would be limitations to it too. What would you guys prefer?
for me, my only, I would say, even if it's a hurdle at all, is the weight class thing. Because again, I was always a 176er, and now I'm going to 185, or it's 85 or 89, 85. And I'm just not sure, because I'm like right now, I'm bouncing back and forth to 85s and 76s. And when I'm 76, I have to watch my weight a little bit, just to keep that down, because otherwise I kind of want to walk around, 78, 80 anyway. So, uh, but I guess that's having other organizations to me is okay. I don't mind it anyway. I kind of like the idea that, well, I can pick from here or there. That especially with, well, you might say cost of things these days, especially travel. Your travel is costly, and if you had something that was closer, yeah, I'd probably go with the closer one, unless there were just people that I wanted to see or new faces, which that's always fun too, because I like to pull with new people. That's always a fun experience to me. Um, just to experience that, especially if you've never pulled them before or they never pulled you before. So I kind of like seeing that. I really enjoyed hitting Oklahoma. I like going down south and even pulling with you boys too. That's just seeing different, because when you do something local, it is kind of like a competition practice almost. I mean, yeah, it's more serious, but it is the same faces. There's usually only maybe one or two new ones that show up, but they are pretty much kind of the same faces that you're used to seeing. You actually have to go somewhere to experience something new, and new faces, new places, and things like that. So I don't know. I know the organization deal was always the issue back in the day
Mhm.
for to get in the Olympics. Uh, and they were saying, because we had, saying you have champions over here, champions over there, champions over here. Who's the champions? You guys don't even have anything really together. You're all over the place, is what they were saying, I guess. And I don't know if I don't know if that will ever come about, unless somebody really takes the reins and goes up with it, which some of them are trying. I mean, look at what they're doing with the stuff now with the elites. That wasn't really happening before. They're getting better paychecks, I'm sure. That wasn't happening before. So things are progressing. I don't know. What do you think, Josh? I like the idea of still having options, though. Options are always good to me.
Great points.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with what you said. I like one of the main reasons I like that there's multiple leagues is because you are not set and confined to even a certain rule base, right? It
Right.
takes away some of the strictness of it, as far as like, okay, over here they do this rule set, over here they do this one favors me a little bit more in my style or what I like to do. The weight classes is a big thing. I kind of think that it makes sense also to have a unification of some sort, exactly for the seriousness worldwide for Olympics and things like that. But I think the way that you do that is you have a unified league like the UAL, for example. You make it a national thing. You have one national championship a year, this and that, and then the other events can still run. However, they're just not UAL sanctioned events.
Right.
They're their own thing, their own entity, which would probably focus more towards the amateur or lower level pro, the ones who aren't trying to chase that number 1, 2, 3 spot in the world or in the country or what might have you. But for the ones who are for that top 5 in every weight class in every state, who are trying to chase that, who do travel across, yeah, I do think that it makes sense to have a unification of some sort for a solidified ranking, for a solidified big cash prize, for things like that, and then that opens up the doors for sponsorships and whatnot, because now you kind of know who is the undenied or undoubted champion, or what it might be. So
absolutely. Yeah, you can't, there's a lot of people that will go around and, say I'm ranked this, or, this person's the number 1 or whatever. And a lot of it's conjecture, because of the separate organizations. Now, on one hand, if we were to be like, baseball, or I don't know, there's not, okay, let's say soccer, because soccer is a very world based organizations where different countries are going against each other and everything. If we were to be one organization like that, it would be tough in the competition sense, because so all these cool local tournaments that we're able to go to and be able to compete at a certain level, I guess, different levels, different places, that would be different. It would kind of like be the World Series of Arm Wrestling thing where there's qualifiers, right? And it would so every small tournament would be a qualifier to go to that world stage and compete with the top people in the world. And that's cool and everything like that. But I agree with you, Josh, that's something that should exist for the people that are pursuing that, that top of the ladder there. But the small promotions and separate promotions are actually pretty cool. It's cool that you can go to Brandon Allen's event and, get a crop of people there and just have a good time. And go to one of Dave DePue's events or something like that. I think those are cool, and they should stay that way. It just gets, there, and I agree with you, Don, that there is good strides being made to, I don't want to say result in one camp or the other in terms of unification, but that are making, I think, positive strides to just evolving the sport in general to good direction.
I almost feel like it has to, though. It has to evolve.
Right.
It's going to, because of just the way everything's going, and the way it's building. It has to turn into something. At least I would assume it would.
Right.
And I think all this that's going on right now, and our discussions and everybody talking, is still kind of building blocks, kind of getting there, and ideas and our own stuff. I mean, again, look what Josh did. He stepped in and stepped up to the plate. He made things happen, and we enjoyed it, and because we're the arm wrestlers, we are the show. We just need a place to go,
Right.
to do what we like to do. And the bad thing is, I think, when you have too many orgs, is it really, if nobody's really looking at dates and you got a bunch of stuff crossing, it gets everybody so spread thin that then it messes things up, though. So you got to be careful there. Kind of like almost with what we got up here going with our practices. If we didn't organize with our practices and go and put that on a site to try and see the dates, so we can have one for somebody every week instead of everybody trying to do one the same week, at least now people again have those options to go travel and go practice with this group now instead, because the schedule is making it so, because we're organizing it that way. And because otherwise, again, if it's all on the same day, everybody gets so spread so thin that it kind of does mess, because they experience that, I know, in the bass fishing tournaments and stuff too, where they had so many clubs going that there's so many people going all to these different lakes that not everybody's gathering enough at one place to make it a really good thing. They're just all little things now. And so, because again, there are only so many arm wrestlers right now. So if you spread us all thin, then that's not good either. But it seems to be working so far. I mean, it's at least from what I'm seeing, from what I saw in the past and that type of thing. Again, things are they're moving, and they're moving in good directions. But um, I don't think the answer for this, but again, I think it's going to evolve into something for us, just like it is now. I mean, you know,
Well, if we're to look at simple pros and cons, the pros are huge for where we are right now at this point in time, and where history has led us to at this point. Um, all these separate organizations, small promotions, and all these things, they contribute to the beauty of this grassroots community. It makes it very cool. And in terms of that, with what you're saying, I'm like, more the merrier for tournaments. It's the more we have, the better it is for that. It's spreading arm wrestling. It's putting more accessibility to people everywhere, even if they're overlapping or whatever. But then there's to me, where the cons come in is that the competitive side is now, when we start talking about athletes that are serious about this sport, about rankings, about wanting to be the best in their country, or the best in the world, or the best in their state. To me, that's definitely when it gets tricky. I love what Corey Miller's doing with the Aries system.
yeah,
It's a great concept. We need it.
it's fun.
Just a shame that, like, there's not enough, promoters and events that are getting those brackets and results over to them. So there's just a good number at this point. Hopefully it's going to evolve at some point to where, everybody's involved, using that as a staple for rankings, because it's very clear cut. It's great. It's brilliant.
Computerized.
But we're just not there yet, like, probably at least 70+% of the tournaments I've competed in, they're not Aries contributors. So it is what it is. But mostly for the community, you'd love to see something like that for the serious minded people. And then, of course, if there's multiple worlds, it's always going to leave question marks. A lot of it's going to be stipulation.
We do things like that, and like the challenge, even our match, Kane, our
Right.
match, it didn't count. It didn't count points or nothing for you or I. That
Oh,
was
I
just,
didn't know that. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't, those didn't count. And I think it was because, for one, I think we didn't weigh. I think you have to weigh to make it official, to have your weight category. And even though we might say, well, that was a 76 or an 85 or whatever, whatever the case, we're just saying that we really didn't weigh. And I guess that makes a difference too. It has to be still legit for it to count. In other
Right.
words, you still have to go through certain steps. I mean, yeah, it counted to me and you. Yeah, it meant a lot to me and you. That was a match. We grinded it out. But on paper and books, it wasn't there. So, and again, you have to, I think, go through all the steps in order for him, because I think they will count things as long as you go through those steps, though. If you can prove that, well, we had weight taken and it is for this weight class, blah, blah, blah. And I think that would make probably all the difference in the world,
Right.
and also
you're talking about for what now?
for like the super matches, like what they do in SoCal, and because they have legitimate referees on a lot of those matches.
He's saying that our super match, it wasn't counted into Aries for points or anything like that. But we did have certified refs for
So,
that. It checked that box, but I think
right.
you're right about the weight thing. We didn't weigh in and there wasn't like an
Right.
official weight.
So
But
there wasn't a class to put us in because you guys were doing the come up, right?
well, Caleb and I weighed, and
And
I
then-
don't think I doubt ours was counted. I haven't looked, but I doubt ours was counted either.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but if it was, and you do have a weight category to put that in, it might, if you talk to them.
Yeah,
I think
that's
I think they're open to it, and if you have record of it and that type of thing, you have to have some proof of something, bracket or something that shows that
yeah,
this
they need
took
to see it
place.
on paper. Yep.
Right.
Especially
Because
brackets. I
because
don't know
like
how they're doing it for super matches, but I know they need those brackets for you can't just call in and be like, dude, I got third in this tournament. That they want to see.
Josh, didn't they ask about some super matches that you did too?
Yeah.
Theirs. So see, he is interested in it, and as long as
Well, I
things are
know he
legit,
is. Corey's killing it with his
right?
Oh
outreach.
no,
He's going above and beyond to try and get those brackets,
Right.
but not all the promoters who do the events
the
are.
super matches
okay,
that we
okay,
did.
yeah, all right.
Yeah,
The super matches that we did, they're on the Ayers rankings. Yeah.
They are.
that's
Okay.
awesome.
Mhm.
So
I
to
sent
me,
them all the
where
info. I sent them all the what class the people were pulling for and this and that. And he uploaded it like the next day. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
right, where it gets rough to me is, so for me personally, if I know there's a promoter or somebody who throws events that doesn't seem to contribute to the brackets to Aries, it's not going to stop me from competing, at
Right.
that tournament. I love to arm wrestle, and I'm going to go and I'm going to do it,
Right.
especially if it's local or whatever. However, there's a lot of other people that, won't. There's a lot of other people that are only going to, especially if they're very serious, about the sport, they're only going to compete at those tournaments where they know they're going to get scored,
And try and advance. Yeah.
right. Where I'd love to see them at all these smaller tournaments and stuff like that. But
you guys are familiar with the WBC, right?
No.
The World Boxing Commission, right? Or the
No,
WBO.
yeah. No.
Okay, so they have boxing matches that happen all across the United States, right? Jack Smith versus Corey Webb, people that nobody's ever heard of, right? And they're all part of the WBC. They're done by smaller promoters at smaller venues. And then twice a year, they do their main event in Madison Square Garden or whatever it is. And that's your big name pay-per-view draws. But my point of that is that going back to what we're talking about, the unification, all of those events across the United States are part of the WBC because they meet the criteria to be considered a WBC event. So these same promoters, the Dave DePues, the Jodys, all these 1 minute, baby, all these guys that throw different tournaments, they all can still do their thing. They would just have to meet a criteria to make sure that they're doing it properly, kind of like a franchise thing with McDonald's. You can buy a McDonald's, but you got to serve the menu items the right way.
Daddy said yes.
Yeah, and Corey is so proactive. He's smart. He's proactive. Hey there. Hey. Look at that smile.
Mm.
Can I see a bicep flex?
There
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. And guns.
Nice.
Mm.
Absolutely. So I have the utmost faith in Corey with what he's doing with that. And if anybody has solutions to, get more and more promoters involved, I know he will. I know he's been on like the coding side or writing his bracket system. From my understanding, he's trying to make that accessible for all the promoters. Right? Something like that.
Right.
And that might be where, if he can make a streamlined bracket system that like comes in a program or whatever that he can send all these promoters that makes their job easier, that might be the bridge to getting all of these events uploaded to Aries.
What's interesting too is what he's trying to pull off now with where they were going to want to put on an event where if you had a certain score for more of those guys that are like in the middle ground, because
pro for the advancement to pro, or
no, for a competition, just for because in other words, like within a certain score, because they figure if you had, I think he said you had to have 15 events though, at least, because then that way you're not like someone that just got in who really is super good and you just got in it and finally got on there and then you just kind of clean house. So they figure after 15 events, you kind of have at least enough table time and enough competitions to have that rank number, so but they're taking rank numbers like in the middle there, because if you do that and you take people that are really close together in rank, you're going to have a good competition, because all those guys are really going to beat up on each other because they're pretty equal. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
it's still going to be an exciting competition. It's almost like you took, like you even taking some guys that are fairly new in the sport and you pair them up, and it's still, when it's an equal match, it's still an exciting match.
Yeah.
So what he's doing is by doing that is not only allowing people to maybe move higher, but also give them, like Josh does, the middle guys something too, I think that's pretty cool, because again, when you have people that are equal and you get a bunch of people that are fairly equal together, you're going to have a good competition no matter how elite or not they are.
Right. Yeah, that's what we want to see. It's
Totally agree with that.
And
yeah,
Josh has done a pretty darn good job with the matches that he's put together, from what I've seen with even what we experienced, he's done a really good job matching people up, and hardly any of them are ever really blowouts, and even if there is someone that wins 3-1, it probably still wasn't easy, or
right.
3-0. It probably still wasn't easy. So he's still putting together some good matches, and that makes it really exciting, I think, for everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, I still have to go back to Anaheim. When we were putting together those super matches, and Bill was like, I don't know, man, if that's an exciting match between Tara and Grace anymore. They met up in Arizona, and
right.
Caleb and Will have already met several times. I mean, that's kind of like we already know what's going to happen. And Ryan Ballesteros, he got 3-0 at North versus South versus Carl Gerke, and all three of those people won their match.
Right.
I mean, you never know, but when you know it's close, you're right. I mean, that's the beauty of it, because we all know that it's literally any given Sunday when it's somebody who's that close with you, it's who's breathing right, who ate good the night before, who drank more water. Like it really boils down to the smallest minute detail when you're that
Right.
close with somebody, and that's what makes it exciting.
So, Kane, does that mean that you want to pull again?
Oh, I always want to pull again. I think I've got the answer for you, Don. But
Do you?
but no, you're right though, Josh. Not only can it go either way, but there's just so many beautiful things about two competitors that are close, and we're close, Don. That was one of the coolest matches for me. I had a lot of fun in that match. It's one of those where like you can lose, but you were still happy. You were, because it was a fight. Like there was
Well, I had already settled in that whenever it became 2-2, I might not win this one.
and that round three that you took that you ended up winning, I was fully expecting a grinder, just like on what it would have been round 4 or whatever when we went 2-2.
Right.
Yeah, I was expecting another one of those, and whatever adjustment you made and whatever like I had going through my head, you almost flash pinned me. It was a pretty quick one to the pad. You just don't know. There's just so many factors that come into play.
Right. Well, I will admit you're a tough competitor, without a doubt. You but actually, you know what? I think it was almost what I expected. I think, I mean, you got drive, you got will, and you're a competitor. And again, just what you were talking about, when someone gets another chance, look what Josh was just saying. The other guys won,
Mm-hmm.
because when you get another chance, that's another chance, and that gives you that extra boost, that extra drive of, okay, this time this one's me. So maybe next one's you, Kane.
I hope so. I hope so. If that does happen, then it's going to be a pretty cool story, man. We'll
But
keep that
otherwise, I
running,
really
dude.
like you just
We're
rooting
going to need
for
a
me.
tiebreaker.
Otherwise, I just like you rooting for me too, though, and I'll root for you.
Yeah.
There's a
But trust
respect
me,
there.
I'm not falling for that nice guy crap again.
When I'm old,
Hey, you
you
know
gotta go
what?
easy on me.
You know what's really cool is that Kane is Italian and you're the Don. It kind of fits perfectly. It fits perfectly.
Oh God.
But no, when you guys, I totally agree. When you guys went 2-2, I mean, I was biting my nails. I was sitting there and I was like, oh wow, this is insane.
Right. Well, actually, I came up with, I did a little research on my own on my first year back, and I'm not doing that good on my foul outs.
Oh, you're fouling a lot?
I have had a foul out loss on every super match I've done, every single one. And I did one with you. I did one with Michael. I did one with Kevin Lasley. I did one with what was it? What's his name? The amateur. It
Oh,
beat me.
uh,
Chad.
yeah.
Chad Keller. I fouled out with Chad Keller one, and I fouled out with everybody. And I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one too many on all of them. I
Are
don't
they
have one that's
typically
clean.
are they typically elbow fouls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's usually right on the initial hit. Depending on if I pull back, I go back off the pad. And if I hit, I slide elbow forward off or something, or lift a little bit on the hit. And yeah, I think that's what my deal is. And usually after I get that, okay, that's not happening anymore.
Right.
But
Right.
but it's still, I'm taking that loss every time, and that's not really good. That's something I need to work on.
Well, it's good that you're noticing it. I've had that same problem a long time. In fact, the tournament you're competing at, the World Series, um, I did the qualifier last year in Riverside, and I got my 0-2 fouling out in both. I'm pretty sure it was both. I could be wrong, but
Really?
I know with Caleb I fouled out. There was one particular time where I felt really good too.
Didn't you
I got in a
didn't
good
you pull
spot.
Jaden at that thing or no? No, he didn't pull open, did he?
No, no, I don't think so. But yeah, fouling, yeah, elbow fouling is definitely something that, I hate. But my theory though is like, Don, you don't have a very long arm, right?
No, I think it's average.
Average. Okay. Well,
And I wouldn't call it short, and I wouldn't call it long.
at least for me, like for a tall guy, I have my arms probably average to the average person, but there's a lot of like it's very normal for there to be like a 5'7" to 5'10" person when I'm 6'2", and their arm is longer than mine from
Mhm.
elbow to fingertips. And for me, I realized at one point, being more of a hand dominant puller, um that's where a lot of my focus would typically be, that my shorter arm would want to pop up from fighting up here, you know
Right,
what
because you're reaching.
right. So yeah, like I've definitely been in the same focus is stopping that.
But
um
you can foul
it,
out. You can foul out in a super match because you got still two more to go against that guy that you can give up. You
right,
know, in a tournament,
it goes quick.
no.
Yeah,
You could go out real quick with fouling out. Especially if you're doing it with each person, like you said, two and out, if you do it. So you can't really afford that in the tournament. And I'm trying to think of in the tournaments if I've been okay. I don't even know if I fouled out in the tournaments, but I know I have in the super matches, all of them.
and that's rough in a super match though too, because everybody, the people watching, the refs, the competitors, they don't want to see a super match end on fouls.
No, but you
So,
can't, you can't, you can't let a win go on a cheat either.
it's true. It's true. It's true.
you know, I mean, so because there is a position gained at times, and that's what is the issue. In fact, because like we were more lenient at the deal we did at Josh's because, a quick hop of an elbow, we weren't calling that kind of thing, unless you lifted your elbow and gained position, then we obviously would call it. But if you just did a quick hop or something like that, we weren't restarting nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, you
Uh,
know, we were just more lenient on that and trying to keep things going. Hmm.
I like it. I'm glad that you brought that up because speaking about refereeing matches and stuff, Alan Fisher had said that when we were at North versus South talking about the position gain fouls, and I've
Right.
done like quite a bit of research on it. Um, for myself, I feel like it should be that way. That the very minuscule small fouls that are being called that are stopping and restarting matches, and this is why I'm going to say this, okay? When a guy goes up there and like me and Kane, if we pull, we know who's stronger. Me and Don, if we pull, we know who's stronger. We know who's gonna, dominate the match or win one way or the other. We can feel those things. And when that guy who is that much more dominant, where there's like no way the other guy was going to win, when his elbow bobbles and then he gets fouled out and the other guy wins that match now, I see that happen a lot. And it's like, yes, yes, there's the parameters and we got to stay in them. And I understand that. But I do feel like the position gain fouls makes arm wrestling more fun because we get to watch those matches finish anyway that we already pretty much knew how they were going to finish, right?
Right.
in that aspect does add the what there has to be some kind of equal playing field that these refs can go off of. There has to be something concise that they can go off. If you're going to let small stuff go, it can't be, just basically by how the ref feels about it. The position gained, that's a pretty cold, hard factor to go off of. It did this foul happen, here? Or where you center table had a small bobble or something like that. It's at least something to go off of, and that's something I like about that for sure.
How come we don't do anything with like or even have any kind of electronic for a table, or like a pin laser for a pin pad type of thing or something, a laser line, that type of thing? Because once you break that laser line, that would be a pin. You would still need referees to get everybody situated and all that stuff, and keep a good position and all that type of stuff. But there are things like, even when it came to like an elbow lift, if that was an electronic pad, it's going to detect the lift. So I'm just saying that if you did something like that, then it would take like a lot of the guessing and away.
I'd love to see what that would look like. I mean, if there was even sensors that you could calibrate for the elbow pads,
Right.
I mean, you're going to allow like a 1/4 of an inch pop or something like that. And then the ref's job is to decide if, when that red light flashed or whatever, was their position or not.
That could even be on like if you wanted to, I'm sure these days with electronics that they could program it to where it would be like a time thing of where, as long as your elbow just jumped and got back so quick to where it's not lifted so too long that it doesn't engage a foul also. So you see what I'm saying? Like a quick pop, it's so quick, but if a guy lifts up and it's there for a second or two or something, it's obvious.
I like the hockey light idea for the pin.
Yeah, I like that for the pin, because
and a
I
cool
think
buzzer or something that goes off.
Yeah. And there's no
I almost think
discrepancy
they did
because you're
something like
crossing
that
a
years ago,
threshold.
though. I'm pretty sure they tried that years ago. Somebody did. But in fact, I'll bet you anything Scott Wynn probably experienced that.
He would know. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like for me, 90% of the time, minimum, position gained, anything is not called. I'm personally a little tired of matches ending up in the straps when somebody slipped like right at the pin pad. I rarely see that get called as a pin. That's a pin. I'm sorry, it's a pin. And there's just not enough. The Kraken event, I didn't really realize
straps are weak.
I'm starting to like the straps, like pulling in it, but I mean that's
I mean, I love pulling in it, but
for that one. No.
I also love to hold on and just see who's strong. I don't know. There's just something about that for me. There's just something about the come on, and like, I mean, honestly, if you look at all of the footage of every match I've ever had, I don't slip.
Right.
Like, I don't slip. Like, even if my hand is in the weirdest position out here and I'm pinching your fingertip, for some reason, my mind tells me, hold on.
Right.
And I know that it helps if you don't, but no, I just I don't know. There's something about the beauty of just going heads up and just going. But I also think that an all straps league would be cool too. As like a side thing, is just start every match in the straps, and that way we don't waste 3 restarts to get there anyway. When most of the guys are trying to go there, you just start in the strap.
I asked that question once on a discussion that was online. I said, well, why don't we just start in a strap, because some of these times, sometimes it seems like every match is in a strap anyway, you know. And then it's like, well, there's some people that don't. I mean, I know when me and Kevin polled Lastly, we probably polled in that match probably 9 times. None of us ever slipped, but it just depends on the poller too. There's some guys, they just they're going so far almost back that they even let go their grip a little bit. I don't know. But there are some people it's just hard to hold on to, and they're going to slip. You're both doing the same move. You're both trying to take each other's hand, and you're probably doing identical moves. And there's so much torque, your hands can't even hold on to each other. So, and a lot of times speed has to do with that too. The hit. So I there's just some people you can't hold on to, or they don't want to hold.
Yeah, Mike Brown and I agreed to start our match in the straps for in December, the Arm Fest. Yeah, I just saw him at practice last Sunday. We gripped up a little bit, kind of feel out where we're at. And he's like, and I was like, so what do you think? Are we going to end up in the straps or what? And he's like, I think we should just start in the straps. And I'm like, really? You don't want to just like see what happens if we don't? And he was like, all right, I'll humor you right now. Let's arm wrestle out of the straps. And yeah, it was just like you said, every single time we slipped. And I genuinely am trying not to slip.
Right.
I'm really trying to hold on and have a match. But yeah, we pretty much had to pull in the straps. We agreed that's how the match is going to go. But on the flip side, there's with what you're saying, Josh, I've learned that there is certain circumstances with people that don't want to hold on with you where you're actually better off in the straps. There are those people that, like, through not really holding on or not combating your hand, they're putting you like in a weird spot or doing something kind of like weird, and they're locked, but you're just like, you're just kind of there, right? And then you realize in a particular moment, okay, we just go in the straps, none of this crap's gonna happen, and we're just, we're gonna arm wrestle. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Don't get me wrong. I benefit from the straps. I mean, I'm a everybody always talks about my lat drag, right? Yeah, and that's like completely beneficial in the straps. So yeah, I've definitely found myself in matches where once the strap goes on, that match that might have been like close or iffy, like now is just completely on my side. And it's because of the connection I can get there and just drag straight back and then, fall over the top of their hand. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not against them. I know that, that I do benefit from them in several occasions. I just like the idea, like Don said, when you watch the OGs pull, man, they hardly ever go to the straps.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the newer style that's being it's evolving and being, adapting to the new tables and the different things that, are constantly changing. And so now, yeah, the style is a lot different. It's a lot more post, it's a lot more rising, it's a lot more pulling back. And so you're going to have a lot more slips. That's definitely understandable for sure.
One thing I've noticed since I've gotten back into this too is that the loading is not there like it used to be. They're not allowing the load like they did before, to where we would be so loaded up. I mean, I got old videos of even out in Patterson before UAL and all that, and Bill's deal, Bill Collins, and we're fully loaded back. I mean, we are so far back that we have got everything we got into back pressure before we even start. and the only thing left is side. And I still think that's why a lot of the old guys have so much side pressure, is because that's all you had left, because you were already starting fully loaded. As long as you were centered and you were straight, but you were loaded up, they let you go. And it was all side pressure at that point, because there wasn't much back to go, it was already there.
Did you ever arm wrestle in the two start system or no?
In the what?
In the two go system, the when they
Yeah,
used to set them
I
up
have,
and they would
I
say
have one.
ready go, and then 5 seconds later they'd say go for the second time. Did you ever arm wrestle in
Yeah,
those?
I have one trophy from that.
Okay.
I did one of those, and that was really odd to me, that go thing, the double go. Did I like it? I thought to myself, why just get rid of the go and have everybody starting a hook then? Because that's what it seemed like every match was starting like that, for the most
Well,
part,
it was like so the first go you were
But
allowed to initiate your hand, right?
no,
And then
no, no, you were only able to tighten up. It was all you could do is tighten up, really. And then the second go was the start. So uh the first
so
go,
it was a loading start is what it was.
yeah,
The first
yeah.
go was
So
load and then go.
right.
Okay.
So what it does is it actually prevents flashing uh from occurring. At least, well, I still flashed a couple guys, but it does for the most part avoid that, because both people get this locked up feel. And then it just kind of goes into a power, kind of a power pole. And I again, because if you do something like that, you could just start with a hook then, if you're going to do that, and then just see if people roll out of it or do what they want to do. But uh I didn't care for it, really. Not the double go. I thought it was odd, but I don't know. It was different. I did it. It's also a different trophy too.
Yeah,
So
I really like the variants of no load grips and grips. I don't I mean I haven't really run into, I mean, maybe it was one or two tournaments I ran into where they were like stopping the setup because of loading.
mhm.
But usually it's because there's movement. If
Right,
you're loading back and you're pulling the guy back this way,
right,
they're not going to start you, right? But
right,
I do like that because in a lot of circumstances, depending on who you're going against, loading might be an advantage. It might be what you need to do. You might need to slow them down. Maybe they got a good hit. Maybe you're just stronger. But then you might go against somebody where you're like, holy crap, this person's hand is like ridiculous,
right.
and you can
Well,
feel their back pressure. Not loading on them might be in your
right,
best interest.
right. Well, that's like when I hooked up with, well, that was years ago. Um, actually, what uh, was it 2016? I don't know. Where I pulled Luke. Uh,
Oh, okay.
and and we were loading. Well, whenever we went to load, I went to pull him to my side of the table, and all I did was separate myself. So I already knew right away that, well, I can't load with him.
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, because whenever you separate yourself trying to load someone back, and you realize that their lock is that, and their lock and load is that stiff, that it's very difficult to even think about pulling through that.
Yeah, there's some people you just don't want to hold on to, for sure.
But
So closing this out, especially when Josh gets back, we'll hear his take. But Don, okay, 1 year from now, in 1 year from now, what do you think this sport will look like? Paint us a picture.
In 1 year. Wow,
Will it be the same, or will there be defined differences that you predict?
I think there'll be some differences, but I don't think it's going to change that rapidly. Well, I can't say that because things are moving different now.
Things have been happening this year, a lot of things.
Right, right. And because of that, it's like that's why I'm saying, this is going to turn into something anyway, whether we like it or not. And because again, the net has made a big world of difference. The communication, us all communicating right now with everybody else at the same time, all this has made such a big difference. And but as far as as slow as it's moved, I know it's more fun to me right today. I mean, maybe that's just because I'm old and playing with you kids. But I don't know. Gosh, that's a really difficult one. Because the elite thing is really taken off. Ingen took that off and made something happen. And again, that leaves the rest of us, And so what are we going to have? I don't know, but I'm having fun. I'm having fun with it. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the camaraderie with you guys. Everybody's so cool. And getting back into the sport was probably a really good thing for me. And I hope it grows more for you guys too, I mean, I enjoy watching you guys pull just as much as pulling myself, it's fun to watch you guys progress. And that's part of all this growing. And that's why I'm saying it's going to grow into something, because if everybody's pushing each other and everybody's got each other's back and cheering for each other, it's got to go somewhere. It's got to go somewhere. And I'm not sure yet, but I like where it's going. When I came back, the super matches alone was new, and I was like, wow, what's this? My first practice back at Mike's, and the guys told me they were going to have a super match. Oh, yeah, what's a super match? And they told me, and I was like, really? Best of 5, huh? Wow, where are they going to hold that? Oh, they're going to do it right here at Mike's house. What? Oh, well, I'm coming. I want to see it. Then I ended up reffing, and that was a really neat experience to see that something else, again, I come back in the sport and there's something new. It's not just the same old arm wrestling. Okay. And I'm not going to say the same old arm wrestling because I would have been happy with that too, but yeah, it's definitely, you guys are moving and shaking things, and I like it. I like it. I'm liking being a part of it and being able to be a part of it. Again, this has really been enjoyable for me. Not only just for mental, but health wise too, I mean, I am getting old, fighting muscle loss these days. So, I want to keep playing as long as I can. And I'm trying to do it as smart as I can without getting hurt, because we all know that there can be injuries. Bob Brown, look, he's getting up there in age too, I guess, and he just hurt himself with a tendon, but he's talking he's going to bounce back. So you got to watch it. I wondered about that because that was a really heavy tournament too. They had all those, what was it, 20, 90, 198ers? The top 20, was it? That they did, I believe. And that's
something like that. It was 20 or 22. I mean, I know it was 11 rounds. So, I mean,
For the
that was
198s? Yeah,
yeah,
12, I think. It was crazy. Yeah.
yes. And that
something like that.
that's a heavy load. That's a heavy load for everybody. Uh, And so, yeah, we can get injuries. So sometimes we gotta, try and play as smart as we can. And the best thing you can do is keep training and working out, and don't overdo it. Uh,
Well,
This
he
is
wasn't the
it's
only
good for
he
you. It's
wasn't the
just
only
good.
one that day that got hurt.
he what?
Bob wasn't the only one that got hurt that day.
No, there was someone else too.
Tiete, yeah, Eduardo Tiete had a
Oh,
little
right,
minor
right.
injury, and
Yep.
Mhm.
I mean, but watching that, it's kind of like you think it's bound to happen with that many rounds in a row of that level of athlete. I mean, you're
Right,
talking about the best of the best guys slamming on your arm 11 rounds in a row.
right.
You got to there's got to be some tearing in there and some micro injuries that led up to those for sure.
Right.
Yeah, every one of those guys is used to like feeling fresh after most of the tournaments they compete in. It's a very rare
And you
thing
see,
to put
it
all those top sharks into one tank.
and that only happened because of that electronic system.
The Aries, yep.
It only happened. It only happened because of that,
Yep,
and because otherwise, it was hard to back in the day to distinguish really who was who. You know,
absolutely.
and we didn't have that system. You know.
Okay, so Don, with your history in the sport, your years of experience, and what you've been having fun seeing happening in this past year, one of the things that seemed to jump out, it sounds like super matches
Hmm.
and these cool round robins that
Yeah.
we're having fun with.
Hmm.
Um, so in a year from now, do you think we're going to see some evolved sense of super match events or more round robins? What do you think?
I absolutely because as the electronic system that the pushing goes to, everybody's going to know more of where people are sitting everywhere because people keep competing and that'll keep being logged, keep competing, that'll keep being logged, and eventually it's gonna everyone's gonna be placed right, and when you get it like that, then you'll really know kind of who you're around, who's around you, what your competition really is, how far maybe you can go with it, because we all like to know how far we can take it, and it takes some years to kind of place yourself somewhere, and even then after that there is still room for progression. So uh there's I think that's going to change things a lot in the next year because um he's even digging deeper. So that's going to change over on that end. As far as what Josh is doing on this end, I hope he never quits doing what he's doing because I like hanging out with him. uh,
Yeah,
All right,
that's the
Josh.
only reason I'm trying to do it, man. Is just so I could have friends to hang out with. I don't even really like arm wrestling.
Okay, Josh. 1 year from now, 1 year from now, what is this beast going to look like? What will arm wrestling look like in 1 year from now?
1 year from now, the people I've heard a lot of people say that we're in like our infancy stage of growing right now because the social media and everything like that.
right.
Um, but I'd like to think that we're like barely an embryo, right? So I think that next year will be the infancy of our growth. I think that a lot of big things are going to happen as far as payouts for tournaments, leagues that are becoming like we're talking about today. I see already some unification and also some separation of some leagues, creating new leagues. So I think that there's going to continue to be a lot more growth, and I think that sometime next year is where we find ourselves really looking at our sport where we can have a chance to be a part of some contractual thing, whether it's with the Ayers or some type of system going on. But I think that that's coming really soon. I think that it's coming really soon to where, and I'm not just talking about the elite guys, because again, with this being a niche sport, you have to open your mind to wanting to contract the guys who are coming up as well. Not the guy who just started yesterday, but you know what I mean, like the newer, a few years in guys. You have to, or else there's not going to be enough, like, taking up space of us presenting this to everybody, to the world. Like the Game of Arms show that used to be on, that's awesome. Imagine that now, right? Imagine the size of those teams that show up now watching their teams, compete. There's 40, 50 guys per team. So yeah, just things like that. I think that we're going to see some really cool stuff next year. I think that guys like I think we're breaking some barriers. The stuff that, Derek has consistently done and inspired other, team captains and people to do is tremendously helping. All of the stuff that the OGs up there at Mike's Garage have continued to do and open up their garage for 3 decades to train the new up and comers, and they still do today. This is why our sport continues to go. But I think those guys are going to finally get some recognition. I think that there has to be awards for lifetime achievement awards. There has to be awards for captain of the year, coach of the year. There has to be these type of things that they do in other sports to make them exciting. We have to have an awards ceremony. I mean, we should have an awards ceremony where we're in a convention center somewhere in Vegas and we're passing out a trophy for the best match of the year across the nation. Things like that. What the other sports do. More and more with these podcasts and stuff, it's obviously helping. But yeah, so long answer down to a short answer. Yeah, I think that we're going to see some cool growth next year for sure.
Awesome. Yes, I can't wait. I agree. I love what this last year has done for arm wrestling. There's been a lot of cool things happening, so I can't wait to see what happens.
If Game of Arms came out now, it would be more popular than then.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I almost think that, sometimes things come out almost maybe not even at the right time,
Yeah, it was ahead of
right. So because there's definitely more popularity going on with it right now. And so I don't know. I agree. I like what Josh says, though. I think that's. I think sponsorship, though, and people supporting, trying to get people in it, might be the difficult task.
Yeah.
Because again, if they're all thinking like most people about what arm wrestling they think it is, then they probably might not even want to support it in the first place. You really got to present it to them differently, kind of like, and open their eyes, kind of like even Terrell that we had earlier. He's coming into it thinking the same thing, probably like most people, and we opened his eyes just at Josh's little deal of that it's something more,
Right.
and it is worth. Again, when it's family oriented and stuff like that, I can't see why people wouldn't get behind it, because you are touching everybody in different generations too by supporting it.
Absolutely. Yeah, with the sponsors thing, I just I don't think we're there right now to pursue it, to shop it. I mean, we could.
Right.
There might be some areas we can.
Right.
My perspective is where we're growing right now, we need to keep growing.
Right.
We're making a lot of great leaps and bounds.
Right.
Malia makes fun of me
Coming up.
because I've been nerding out on Shark Tank a lot lately, that show Shark Tank. And yeah, one common thing that you see when these sharks are considering investing in one of these entrepreneurs, inventors, or whatever, they're looking at what they've done so far. They're like, what are your sales to date? so that they can create an evaluation. They can see how long it's going to take for me to make my money back. What are your sales? What are your, customer acquisitions and all that crap? To me, it's the same thing for us. We just need to keep growing in all these positive directions to the point where it makes sense, to be bringing in big money and everything like that. That's going to be
Josh has a good way to bring people in, I think, and he has a good way about it. And I kind of have a little faith in Josh that he's going to do something really great here for us. And when it comes to the next year, I'm going to say I'm going to have my eye on Josh.
Yeah. He's Josh. You're one of my favorite madcaps in this community. The thing that stands out the most for me with you is shaking things up a bit. Thinking of new things to try and how we can propel ourselves forward a little bit. We're definitely lucky to have you, Josh. Yep.
Appreciate it. I feel blessed to be welcomed into this community for sure.
So Dawn, oh hey there.
Woo!
What's his or her name?
That's Gemma.
All right. Hi, Gemma. So Paul Stevens had something to say about your guitar. He said George Lynch used a Charvel. And he also says that Kramer guitars prior to 1986, but now ESP guitars sponsor him. Oh, I didn't know you knew so much about guitars.
He Googled that right now while we were on the show. Paul.
Was he?
That's a Google response if I've ever heard one, Paul. I'm just playing. I'm just joking.
We need to jam, man. I hope it wasn't Google. Waldo Saldana says what's up too. All right, guys. I'm gonna go fix us up some dinner. It was really good to have you on here. Thanks everybody who tuned in. It was a fun show. Josh, thank you very much for bringing in Terrell. Terrell's a great guy, and I look forward to knowing more about him.
Thanks for having me, Kane.
Each one teach one, man. I mean, if we can all get, one person excited about this or involved in this, then, it's going to grow and get better. He has a door that can open up, even if it's, a door that's just starting. The same thing with us. We open doors together, and now more doors are open and more end goals and results can be reached. So
keep that eye on Josh next year.
Absolutely. Follow Josh. Just everybody follow Josh.
Quit what you're doing. Throw everything away. Follow me.
Follow the trenches, man. Yes, it'll be a good one. Paul Stevens says, I know something about guitars. I used to play until I almost cut my finger off with a chainsaw. Oh, man.
Oh,
wow. There's a lot of things in that sentence that I think are so cool, Paul. I knew there was a reason why I consider you a friend.
I'm more concerned about the chainsaw. I mean, was it like a night of a couple too many beers? He picked up the chainsaw and thought he was playing the guitar. I mean, how was it did that happen? Or was it completely separate and he just almost cut his finger off and said, I'm done with guitar? Which one was it?
Well, Paul, if you want to jam a chainsaw, I've got a really badass 25-inch bar Farm Boss. You got to come up here. That thing plays nice.
Who was that sang that song? Let me chainsaw you. Maybe he was trying to play that song with the chainsaw.
He might have.
All right, I'm gonna go take my fender and chop some wood.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Peace.
Thanks for having me, Kane. Bye.